Good evening. I'd like to call to order the City of West Bend Plan Commission meeting for June 7th. Note that we do have a quorum with Commissioner Starl and Dolnick absent but excused. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I'll note that we have 4 items on our agenda, the first being approval of the minutes, the Planning Commission regular meeting minutes from May 3rd.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Model and Fleischman. Any comments or corrections? Hearing none. All those in favor, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Moving on to development proposals, A, conditional use permits, and number 1, CU-22-003, a public hearing for a request for conditional use permit to allow a mobile vendor in the lower parking lot of 303 Water Street by Sue Millen. The applicant is Sue of Volunteer Center, Washington County, and the agent is the same. And we'll begin this with a presentation by our business and development planner, Jim Reike. Take it away.
Thanks. Good evening. So the Volunteer Center of Washington County has submitted a conditional use permit application for consideration for a mobile food truck operations on their site. The Volunteer Center is looking to requesting the ability to allow food trucks to operate on their site during business hours and during special events that they do have throughout the year there. They have submitted a plan for the area. The sales area would be located on the south side of the site behind the building. The hours of operations would be from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. During the times that events occurring and during the times that they're open. The food truck would need to operate during the normal business hours. This is consistent with all the other food vendors that we have throughout the city areas that we've approved conditional uses for. The vendor would also be responsible for cleaning up the site from when they're done. The Volunteer Center was not requesting any additional signage, but if the vendor would want temporary signage, they would have to go through the appropriate approvals for advertising for that. Staff has reviewed the request and feels that the food vendor use would be acceptable in this location. It has minimal impact for parking requirements due to the MXD requirements where parking isn't required, and we do have additional parking available on Auxiliary Court and in the public parking lot to the east of the development there that the city owns. A public hearing a public notice was published in the paper, and notice was given to every property owner within 200 feet, and as of today's date, staff received no inquiries, comments, or concerns pertaining to the use. So staff, if the Plan Commission finds the conditional use to be acceptable, staff would recommend approval with the listed conditions.
Thank you, Jim. And this is a public hearing, so if anybody from the public would like to come up and speak on this item, feel free to come on up.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you, Model and Newman. All those in favor of ending the public hearing, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And I'll open up to the commission if anybody has any questions or would like to make a motion.
I have one quick question.
Yes, sir.
I just see on their map they drew, it says vendors. It's singular, another.
Yeah, this would be for one vendor. They were aware of the requirements that they could have one vendor at a time on site.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve with the 6 staff comments.
Second.
Thank you, Schmidt and Fleischman. If there's no further questions, all those in favor, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, that passes. On to B, annexation. Number 1, AX-22-002, direct annexation of approximately 105 acres of land to the city from the town of Trenton, located on the west and east sides of North River Road and north of Creek Road, by Vince Anwenter, Steve Groth, Belinsky Investments, LLC. The applicants are all those people, and the agent is John Donovan of Belinsky Homes. Once again, we'll start off with a presentation by Jim.
Thank you. So Belinsky Investments, along with the 2 current property owners, has submitted a petition for annexation. This petition has been submitted to the state of Wisconsin and is currently under review. The applicants are proposing to annex approximately 105 acres, which is located on the east and west sides of North River Road, which is out in the town, also known as Marsh Avenue in the city. And this is located just north of Creek Road. The purpose of the annexation is to obtain city services for future developments for single-family residential subdivision. The property is contiguous with the city. It's also within our 2020 sanitary sewer service area and is consistent with our 2020 comprehensive land use plan for the single-family use. The annexation is consistent with the logical expansion and growth of the city boundaries. As a part of the annexation, an annexation agreement will be made or needed for terms and conditions of the annexation, and then also the town tax requirement payments that we have will be fulfilled by the developers. Staff would recommend approval of the annexation to the Common Council with temporary RS3 and RS4 zoning.
Sounds great. I'll open up if anybody has any questions. Yes, sir.
This is really a general question without getting into too much detail. What does an annexation agreement look like? Like in this situation, I guess, as an example.
Yeah, in this case, the annexation agreement is going to be discussing payments for, we have existing utility charges out there, so it'll lay out the terms and conditions for those utility charges, also for dedication of needed right-of-way in accordance with the official map
Okay.
that we have, and other road dedications.
Okay.
I have a question, or
Yep.
a couple questions.
Yep, Jim.
Do you know roughly how many dwelling units there?
Jim, I don't know if your mic's on.
Do you know roughly how many houses or units they want to put in these 105 acres?
I don't have the exact amount because this is actually going to probably be developed in two phases,
Okay.
one on the west side and then one on the east side, but we don't have the definite numbers for that.
Another issue that, is happening right now with the city council is they're trying to evaluate the fire service and the areas that they cover, and are we going to have 3 fire stations or different fire stations? And this property is the closest to number 2 station, which is the one that they're thinking of closing. Does that have any impact on this decision? By losing a fire station or?
Maybe I can answer the political question first. I don't think we've discussed closing a station, just to make that clear to the public.
Yeah.
There's
Closing
other discussions about improving the stations,
Okay.
right, to have them be more efficient. But then maybe Mark can answer the other part of the question.
I discussed this with showed this proposal to the fire chief, and if you're right, this would be serviced by that the station number 2's location. But if the Station 2 was relocated, you would have other service areas in here that would have to be covered. This will be covered either by Station 2 or Station 2's replacement, irregardless of this development, because the other surrounding areas still need their coverage on this. This doesn't greatly extend the service radii for that area.
And just to punctuate what Mayor Jenkins was saying, the only serious conversation about Station 2 shutting down is going on in the media.
That's where I heard it.
Well, yeah, that's the only place that anybody's serious about it, so.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we're looking for a recommendation to approve to council for annexation with that zoning.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Thank you, Model and Fleischman. Anything else?
Point, though.
Hearing none. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And last but not least, we're on to C, Certified Survey Map number 1, CSM-22-007, Certified Survey Map creating 4 residential lots located on the north side of Schuster Drive and west of Wildwood Road by Shepherd of the Hills. The applicant is Shepherd of the Hills and Bud Abel. Agent is Mackenzie Swartwout, something like that, FPSE. Jim.
Thank you. The purpose of this certified survey map is to divide that 10-acre parcel into 4 single-family lots. The lots are currently zoned RS1, single-family residential, and are currently vacant. The lots range in size from 1.7 to 3.4 acres. All of the lots meet the requirements for the zoning requirements in RS1. The lots will have direct access to Schuster Drive. The 33 feet of right-of-way exists for Schuster Drive, which remains out in the township at this time, but an additional 17 feet is being dedicated in accordance to the official map. So when the other 33 feet comes into the city, we'll have our required right-of-way needed for future expansions for Schuster Drive. Sanitary sewer for this property, or I should say sanitary services for the property at this time, will be with on-site septic systems. This is due to the location of the sanitary sewer not being available in Schuster Drive, and the cost of expanding that main line, it would be cost prohibitive for this. So we would recommend temporarily having septic systems on site until sewer services would be available, and then connection would be required upon the availability of that. Water main exists in Schuster Drive, and the lots will be served off of that existing water main. As a part of the certified survey map, we did have a grading plan submitted, which was providing the grades for the driveway locations and the building pads. The grades have been designed to minimize the amount of land disturbance in the area due to the environmental corridor area. As a part of the certified survey map, a developer's agreement would be needed and need to be approved by the council to address the sewer connection, the future sewer connections, road improvements, and then also development restrictions on those sites. Staff would recommend approval with the listed conditions.
Thanks, Jim. I'll open up to commission if anybody has any questions.
I have.
Yeah, Bernie, yep.
There is no timetable on running sewer out there, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the reason why we would have that developer's agreement. So if and when the sewer does get extended up into there, it would be the mechanism to require the connection to the sewer and specify the amount of time that they would have once it becomes available.
That would have a special assessment attached to it, is that right, Jim?
That depends on how the line is actually installed,
Okay.
whether it's done through city project versus if a different developer would extend it. So it all depends on the circumstances.
Commissioner Marshall.
Yes. So I want to make a motion on this item to postpone it to a future plan commission meeting. This item did not come in front of the commission last time while the other CSM adjacent to it was proposed, because we had some concerns with code requirements, and at this time all these requirements have not been satisfied. So I believe it should be postponed until the rest of the items are worked out. So that would be my motion, to postpone this to a future plan commission meeting until the code requirements have been satisfied.
Max, so just to clarify, you're just alluding to number 3 with the stormwater, or are there other code requirements that are missing?
Mainly the stormwater, but I don't have the list of the comments that we had made on the CSM in front of me, and I know there were multiple comments on that CSM the first time around.
Okay. Is there a second to that?
Well, if we're not sure about it, then I'll make a second, yeah.
Okay.
As a representative from Shepherd of the Hills, can I say something?
Sure. If you don't mind jumping up to the podium, please state your name, who you're with, all that good stuff.
Hi, I'm Tom Romoser. I'm a representative of Shepherd of the Hills Church. And regarding the engineering comments, the firm that we work with, PSE, which is Parish Survey and Engineering, sent a response back to the city on May 6th regarding the comments. And so they've been in the hands of the city for a month now. And we've attempted multiple times to get response on, is this sufficient? Do we need to do anything more? There hasn't been any feedback until now. So there was the memo that Jim had sent to the Plan Commission states a recommendation to approve conditionally based on resolution of that stormwater. So that kind of has the same effect of delaying, except it wouldn't necessarily be delayed another month. Because we're really looking at the sale of this land the proceeds of this land are going to help us with our sanctuary expansion, which is the whole reason why we're doing this project. We're intending to expand our sanctuary by 9,600 square feet. This will provide a significant part of the down payment to do that project. And it's taken a long time to get to this point. Another month or so delay is going to be, difficult to handle. So my request would be that we consider it at this meeting and potentially try to get these issues resolved prior to the next plan commission, or the common council, I believe is where it goes next, on the 20th. Is that right?
It was anticipated for the 20th for
Yeah.
the common council if we have the developers agreement done, and then whatever other conditions that had to be met for the CSM.
So I guess what I'm asking is, can we try to work through this before that next common council meeting, rather than another delay to the next plan commission?
Does staff have any comment about the May 6th thing? That apparently we got everything that we needed?
Yeah, well, I was not aware of those comments until 2 hours ago.
I
And
can-
of those answers until 2 hours ago. Yesterday afternoon at 2:21 is when I first received something from Mackenzie. So we replied right away when we became aware at 4:30. We replied around 5. But the response that she had provided on May 6th, I did not get until a couple hours ago.
Is there, I haven't seen what those comments are, Max. Is there any reason, if the comments are addressed, that we wouldn't approve it based on any of your concerns?
Well, addressing the comments will not be a 5-minute item. When Mackenzie sent the email yesterday and we found it in the afternoon, right away we started looking at what she had put in there, and we sent her an email with clarifications, asking for some items. I did call her before this meeting to let her know that I was not aware that she had responded to the comments, and I just found out a couple hours ago. And that I was going to make that motion to postpone. And, I want to work towards resolving this as soon as possible. And she did say that she was going to get on preparing those numbers for us and then send us back basically the information that we're missing. So we're working through this, but depending on what we see from what they provide us, it may or may not be something that will take a few days or a few weeks. So at this point, if it's something we're going down to a full stormwater management permit, it might take a few weeks to get that done. And so that's why I'm not feeling comfortable with just moving on with this. That's why I made the motion.
But to Commissioner Schmidt's point, what's the difference between what you're asking for or just approving it with the conditions that add in those code requirements? And then it just wouldn't come to council, right, until all of your satisfactions are met? Is that right?
What was that? Sorry.
So it wouldn't, so if we approved it, but with the listed conditions, which include the code requirements, it might not get to council by the 20th, right? Because if you're still waiting on stormwater stuff or whatever it might be. But is that okay that we still, well, I just don't see the difference between your ask of postponing it versus approving it with the conditions that also include the stuff that you're asking for.
So are you saying that if we don't have satisfaction what we need by the 20th, this item would not go to council? Or do we?
Well, it
would
wouldn't
it-
anyway, right? I
If
mean,
we
it's not going to, because we're approving it with the listed
Based on the
conditions.
conditions being met, yeah.
So it would not go to council on the
We would
20th?
we would have to meet the conditions
Yeah,
first.
you'd have to meet the conditions in order for it to come to council.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, for me, if there really isn't a reason that it wouldn't move forward if they meet the conditions of code requirements, I don't see why we couldn't make the motion, to your point, Mayor, and get it off of our agenda in hopes that it helps expedite the process for the church. But I don't know what the comments were that Max is referring to, so my preference would be to see to move it off our agenda and then let the process play out. And if they can make the council meeting, they can make it. If not, it just gets pushed a month while they work through the storm management plan.
That seems reasonable, yeah.
Any other thoughts?
Reasonable to me.
That seems
Okay.
reasonable, but I want to support Max if you're feeling that
Yeah.
you need the commission's, or you potentially might need the commission's opinion. You know, I understand that too. So if you feel it's a compromise that, you know, we can go ahead and approve it with that third condition, I'm very comfortable with that.
Well, based on this approval, could it come back to the commission also before going to council?
That's basically what Max was saying.
Yeah,
was
okay,
to
okay.
basically postpone it and bring it back to you after he has a resolution, as opposed to him resolving the stormwater issue and before it moves to council.
Sure, but if we approve now and all that is met, then it could move to council before coming back here.
It theoretically could.
Yeah.
It would expedite it a little bit because council meets at least every 2 weeks roughly rather than once a month.
Right,
So-
right.
Yes, Max? Do you have anything?
I have a question.
Yep.
Does Mackenzie work for the city or is it for the developer?
Mackenzie is the agent. She works for
The
PSE.
She's hired by us.
And then, they work for the church in preparing the plans and the documents that we need, so. They're the church agent.
Okay, well, we currently have a motion to postpone. Does anybody want to rescind that motion? Or do you still want to vote? You still want to vote? That's fine.
Yes.
All right, then we'll go call for a vote. This is be a motion to postpone to our next plan commission. So all those in favor of postponement, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Right.
Any opposed?
Aye.
I think a majority is opposed. So now we need a new motion to, to accept the CSM with the listed conditions. And you can add other conditions if you want.
I'll make a motion to approve based on the 3 conditions and the fact that staff is satisfied prior to movement to council.
Second.
Thank you. Schmidt and Newman. Can I ask, Max, are there any other specific conditions that you'd like added in here, though? Besides what's listed?
Nope.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Then, all those in favor, so I'm saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. That passes. And having no further business for the Plan Commission, I adjourn by the call of the chair. Have a good night.